Are you struggling with CloudWatch Logs in your Elastic Beanstalk application? You're not alone. Today, we're diving into a common issue where users see errors related to missing log files, especially when using Nginx instead of Apache. I totally get it. It can be incredibly frustrating to see warnings about missing files when you know you're using a different web server. You're not the only one facing this issue, and it's a common point of confusion. Let's look at the specific question at hand. One user activated CloudWatch Logs in their Elastic Beanstalk application, but encountered warnings about missing Apache log files. They are using Nginx with Node.js, so this doesn't make sense. Sound familiar? Let's find a solution together. So what's happening here? The warnings indicate that the CloudWatch logs are trying to access log files that don't exist because the application is using Nginx instead of Apache. This is a common misconfiguration that can easily be fixed. And stick around. At the end of this video, I'll share a quick tip on how to properly configure your logging to avoid these issues in the future. To address the issue with CloudWatch logs, the user should first check the configuration of the log files in their Elastic Beanstalk environment. Specifically, they need to ensure that the log files for Nginx are correctly specified. Next, the user should update the CloudWatch configuration to point to the correct Nginx log files instead of the Apache log files. This can be done by modifying the configuration file for the CloudWatch logs. After updating the configuration, the user should redeploy their Elastic Beanstalk application. This will apply the changes made to the log configuration. Finally, the user should monitor the CloudWatch logs to ensure that the warnings no longer appear. They can do this by checking the logs in the AWS Management Console. Fun fact, did you know that Nginx can handle thousands of concurrent connections? It's one of the reasons it's so popular for modern web applications. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. This user suggests that the warnings you're seeing occur because the AWS Logs application is searching for Apache log files that don't exist since you're using Nginx. To resolve this, you can edit the AWS Logs configuration file. They also recommend checking the AWS documentation for more details on configuring the CloudWatch Logs agent. That's all on that answer. Let's take a look at another one. An alternative solution provided by a user involves creating a configuration file in your Elastic Beanstalk environment. They suggest using the AWS log.config file to ensure that specific log files are created at boot time. This prevents the "no file is found" error messages from appearing in your CloudWatch logs. The user also notes that if you're using a different container, you can adjust the log file paths accordingly. They emphasize that touching the files is less invasive than removing the HTTPD blocks from the configuration. Let's take a moment to review another user's answer. An alternative solution to the CloudWatch logging issue involves modifying the beanstalklogs.conf file. You can create a configuration file in the .ebextensions directory to specify the correct log paths for Nginx and Node.js. In this configuration, comment out the lines for Apache logs to prevent CloudWatch from looking for them. After making these changes, restart the AWS Logs service to apply the new configuration. Finally, include the .ebextensions myconfig.config file in your application zip file. This ensures Elastic Beanstalk executes the commands during deployment. Now, let's dive into a different answer from another user. One user faced a similar issue with CloudWatch logs in an environment with frequent auto-scaling. They found that creating a log file stopped the errors, but did not enable log streaming. The solution was to create a symbolic link to the actual log file using a command in the ebextensions. Here's a pro tip. Always double-check your logging configurations when switching web servers. This small step can save you a lot of headaches down the line. And there you have it. By adjusting your logging configuration, you should no longer see those pesky warnings. If you found this video helpful, Please subscribe for more troubleshooting tips, and remember to keep your logging configurations in check.